What's up, everyone? My name is Cam. Thank you so much for tuning in to Carolina Fragrance Reviews. Hope you're all having a fantastic week. Now, 2021 is shaping up to be a rather solid year for fragrance releases. There is a bumper crop that is coming out and a bumper crop that has already come out. So being that I buy like 99.5% of all my fragrances, I don't have the money to pick them all up. So I am a little bit late to the party with this one, but this just may be the best why yet. Without any further ado, let's get into this. So for those of you who have been with me for a little while, when we've had discussions about Yves Saint Laurent Y, or the Y line, you guys know that the EDP was a little complicated for me because I couldn't wear it. I really love the way it smells. I like the way it smells in the air. I just can't wear it on me personally because of that itchy, scratchy, screechy stuff going on that really messes with my allergies or sinuses. So with that said, I had to buy the EDT, trade it for the EDP, trade the EDP back for the EDT. Now I know most of you really like the EDP the best, or maybe you're like me and you like Live the best. Live is a very effective fragrance, and of course Eau Fraiche is fresh and clean and kind of overlooked like the redheaded stepchild of the Y family. But whether Yves Saint Laurent knows it or not, they actually developed a new fragrance for me that is just as effective, if not maybe more effective than the EDP, without that screechy scratchiness. And of course, if you haven't seen it by now, this is the Parfum. Now this fragrance was actually showing up on my YouTube feed all the time. My son watching different channels, and then Lenny Kravitz coming up, just like it was when Y Live came out. I didn't even pay attention until I heard Le Parfum from Yves Saint Laurent. I was like, oh, they have a new fragrance. And then all of a sudden, everybody's getting it. And like I said, I'm kind of late to the party, so I figured I'd just stay a little bit later. But this fragrance is, wow, it just might be the best why yet. Now, for those of you who have suffered the same problems that I have with the EDP, there's been several of you in the comments. I have fellow reviewers that have told me the same thing. They really like the EDP, but they just could not wear it. Le Parfum falls in perfectly. Le Parfum is actually a more mature version, especially after the release of Y Live. And of course, Eau Fraiche is just fresh. So with summertime coming up, I'm sure there'll be plenty of you reaching for Eau Fraiche. I will myself. It's a very easy to wear fragrance, but nothing like wow. Where Le Parfum, I'm digging this a lot. I'm really digging this. You've got like the murdered out look. It's just all black. And of course, some of you would think that it's going to be a much more darker fragrance. It's not. It is very fresh. It's bright. It's got a nice soapy vibe. And in the first 5 to 10 seconds of this fragrance, it smells very much like Live. But after that first 10 seconds, no more Live. This fragrance actually does a little bit of an evolution. If you like blue fragrances, you're going to love Le Parfum. It's very clean, it's very soapy, it's very sexy, it's going to be mass appealing, it's going to be a compliment puller. I have worn this fragrance 5 times out of the 5 times. I think there was 2 days where I got heavily complimented. There is a drive-through that I go through to get my son's breakfast on a regular basis, and they're always talking about how amazing I smell. But this day that I wore Le Parfum, they were like kind of hanging out of the window, and that's when I should think and pull the camera out so you guys can see that. So on the top notes of this, you've got some apple, some grapefruit, and some ginger, which is a very nice opening. Then it's going to get into some sage, which is a nice dimension. It's going to give it just a little bit of a twist. And then into some very smooth lavender that is very noticeable, like kind of in the mids into the dry down, you know, maybe about 30 minutes into the fragrance is where a very soft and smooth lavender is really coming up, mixed with a hint of that sage, and those citruses are still lingering around a little bit. Now, the dry down of this fragrance is really magical. You've got a little bit of patchouli mixed with some woods and some tonka bean. Now, the woods that's listed in this is cedar. For those of you who know about the cedar, it's usually kind of sharp and very noticeable. I would not have known that it was cedar. If it wasn't a listed note, I would say more of like kind of that modern woods that you get in a lot of these blue fragrances. Now the tonka bean is really, really nice on this. When you're thinking of a fresh fragrance with a little bit of sweetness and seductive tonka in the dry down mixed with some modern woods, and then just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of patchouli that you probably wouldn't even know was there unless obviously you read the notes. But it does have just a slight hint because you see it there, so I guess maybe you might pick a little bit of that up. But you do pick up that tonka bean, which is very, 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 very nice. Now for each of these fragrances, with the EDT being like just super mass appealing, EDP just having a little bit more oomph, but for those of you who have allergy or sinus problems that can't wear it, okay, we kind of cancel EDP out. For those of you who can wear it, God bless you, because you know it's really good. Then we go into Live, which is more of like the clubbing fragrance, dating fragrance, and really any of them could be worn for that, but Live is more of like the kind of like the bad boy of the line, and then the Eau Fraiche is kind of the underlook, just dumb reach summer fragrance, when Le Parfum is got its place as well. I actually like it better than any of them. That's just my personal opinion. Now the performance on this fragrance is good as well. It's got moderate sillage, moderate performance. That's what you're going to get on most of these blue fragrances. I did find that the Wild Live did get a little bit better performance than this, but that's because it has a lot more sweetness. This one doesn't have the sweetness of the EDP or the Live, but it still has some sweetness. But I would say that this is a little bit more refined, slightly more grown up, but that does not mean that you guys that are, 18, 19, 20 cannot wear this. This is a great fragrance. If you're wanting something that's a little bit more, obviously useful, go with Wild Live. But if you want to, seem a little bit just slightly more refined, I would say Le Parfum is absolutely perfect for any age group. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the performance of this fragrance is on par with the EDP and close to Live. I got between 7.5, close to 8 hours of performance with this, which is absolutely perfect. Now I know not all of you have the same type of skin that's going to get a little bit better performance, and I have heard people say, oh gosh, these people, these reviewers always say they've got oily skin. Well, look, I have very oily skin. So yes, oily skin is going to get a little bit better performance, but all in all, even if your skin is a sponge, you should get about average performance as you would with a regular fragrance like this, maybe a little bit more, because this one does seem to cling pretty well. Like I said, it does outperform the EDT. Now, of course, because this fragrance is still relatively new, it is still selling for a rather high price. I did find this as a tester, but if you're wanting to try this fragrance, go to today's sponsor, go to www.myfragrancesamples.com, enter my discount code CFR15. They do have this in stock, as well as the rest of the Y line, or at least it did when I was filming this. So if you're wanting to try this fragrance out without pulling that $120 ish price tag, definitely go to sample it at www.myfragrancesamples.com. So if you're looking for that clean, fresh, aromatic, spicy, soapy, sweet and sexy version of Y, and you can't wear the EDP, go with Le Parfum. Now, as you can see, I am a fan of this line. I know, some of you aren't, but as far as blue fragrances go, this is actually right on par with Bleu de Chanel, and Bleu de Chanel has a lot of personal, goodness attached to it. But outside of, emotionally being attached, the Y line for blue fragrances actually has something for everybody. I feel that each of these fragrances, of course, this is minus the EDP because I cannot wear it. I feel that each of these fragrances has its place, and I think I like Le Parfum the best. So 2021 coming out with a lot of flankers, a lot of new fragrances, just really trying to make up for the crappy year that we had in 2020, and really no reason to get in a big twist about fragrance releases, even though there was some pretty solid releases, not many though. So how it's looking so far, 2021 has a lot of good releases so far. I haven't got my nose on every single one of them. I've been sampling them here and there, and I will get reviews out on those I like or those I feel are trash, so you don't waste your money on them. But I would definitely check out Le Parfum, definitely worth it. Maybe not worth the full price tag, wait till it gets to the discounters. Unless you just want to spend that extra cash, you might have some of that stimulus money laying around, but this one's good. This one's really, really good. compliment magnet, very versatile, very sexy, will work for anything. You should check this one out. If you haven't checked any of the Wild line out, I would say try Le Parfum. So if you have tried Le Parfum, let me know down in the comments. Let me know if you think that it's a solid release or if it's trash. And if you haven't, do you intend on trying it? Until next time, I'll see you on Carolina Fragrance Reviews.